started heading toward the front door, looking forward to a new life in Lowtown City. But Jonathan asked the Green Honey Badger what it was they were going to do. We'll stick together, she said with a grin, just like you guys in the adventure crew. Drew came forward and handed Honey about 17 variety stars that she found in the devil's underwear drawer behind video cassettes of a band named War. Melissa was in the bathroom cleaning nasty shit off of her face. Battle of Wanna said, I wanna say I'm sorry, but I think that I should give her some space. Across town, heavy metal wizard loving devil was loading up his groceries when he accidentally dropped the sauerkraut and broke it all over the concrete. When he looked up, he found a cross-shaped piece of metal in his tire. Some punks must have stuck in there. He was fuming for an hour and 17 minutes as he struggled with the absolutely giant spare. Halfway home, he ran out of gas. Had to lock the truck up and come right back. He shuffled up the stairs leading to his apartment with a singular thought on his mind. Those punk kids better not have smoked all my shit, cause I really, really need to get high. Kevin woke up on the office couch and got his coffee brewing up and made toast and egg. He put his bathrobe on and went down the stairs to get things cleaned up and ready to open. He cranked the Joe Strummer through the house PA and started mopping up the floor like he did every day, filling up the Pepsi machine with Mr. Kevin, making sure that the Pepsi vendor wasn't coming in. He started booting up all the game machines and doing everything else in his daily routine. The kids flowed in a steady wave, just like they did every Saturday, getting high scores to impress their friends and losing all their quarters down at Kevin's arcade. Kevin's arcade. If you're looking for something to disintegrate, Kevin's arcade. If you feel the need to fire off some laser rays, Kevin's arcade. It's the best thing since Walter Day. Kevin's arcade. It's the best thing since Walter Day. Kevin's arcade. two sketchy dudes came up from behind and grabbed the two girls by their girls' behinds. Girls be good sports, we're the bad sport daddy's boys, and we wanna play hide the pencil. Suddenly the daddy's boys' heads exploded, and just like out of a movie or something, the bad sport to daddy's boys have lost their heads. And this time it meant that they ended up dead. Their lifeless bodies fell into the street, and a voice from the shadows told the girls, "You're coming with me." The boss is none too pleased with your disrespect for his hospitality. I left a note for your friends. If they want you back alive, they'll meet us at the river bend. And they better not try to get funny, 'cause I'm bringing my friends. They better not try to get funny, 'cause I'm bringing my friends. They better not try to get funny, 'cause I'm bringing my friends. Deep in the forest past Amish Alexander's Grove, a magical place where magic creatures call home, where evolution took to taking off on a magical path that winded round and around and ended up off the edge of the map. The punk rock skunk and the pink honey badger figured it was time to get home. And the combat creature said, "Well, you guys are the leaders, and it's been a while since we checked on the gnomes." Just outside of the village, they caught up with a gnome that said, "Thank the magic gods, you're home." But the bad racist daddy finally found out where we live, and he won't leave us blue ones alone. But the bad racist daddy came running up onto the gnome, and the punk rock skunk said, "Hey fucker, no means no." The bad racist daddy started throwing out magical spells, turning all the blue gnomes into sepia tone and grayscale. Sepia tone and grayscale. Sepia tone and grayscale. Sepia tone and grayscale. Meanwhile, in the deep forest down way past Amish Alexander's Grove, part of his ass. The punk rock star said, I want to introduce you to a guy who's gonna get this whole thing unfucked. He didn't come highly recommended, but when I mentioned Wizard Man, you should have seen his eyes light up. That dungeon master's gonna walk us all through this route he's laid out on the map, and get us all safely to his brother's tower, so we can put some weapons far up his ass. The lawnmower man got a letter in the mail from his brother that he hadn't seen 17 years. His wife caught him having an affair with his assistant. She took the house, 2 cars, and the dog, which didn't come as any kind of real surprise. The guy could fuck something up without having to try. The only thing the two really had in common was a love for science and collecting hogs. He had his picture in the dictionary next to asshole, but you couldn't just leave the guy out in the cold. So the lawnmower man wrote him a letter back and told him he could stay with him until he got on track. He picked his brother up at the airport concourse in a van that double functioned as a house and transport. Offered to buy the sad sack some lunch and let him know he didn't like the situation much. Picked his brother up at the airport concourse, let him know he didn't like the situation much. Offered to buy the sad sack some lunch and let him know he didn't like the situation much. Not 24 hours after settling in, a U-Haul pulled up on the lawn with 1,700 pounds of science equipment and robot assistance and all. Not 24 hours after settling in, a U-Haul pulled up on the lawn with 1,700 pounds of science equipment and robot assistance and all. And it was already crowded, living with his assistant Jim. And then you had another dude and put the 4 other robots in. The lawnmower man had to hear the punks bitch about coming from the riverbank smelling like dead fish. Chris had his very own offensive funk that was similar to when you piss off a skunk. The robots actually stunk the most, malfunctioning all the time with the smell like burnt toast. Jim, the assistant, told the lawnmower man he was moving out till there was room in the van. Jim, the assistant, told the lawnmower man he was moving out till there was room in the van. Jim, the assistant, told the lawnmower man he was moving out till there was room in the van.
hard drive. At 17 pounds, my arms are tired cause I pretty much almost died. Stuff that shit you like little kids and I need some help with the hard drive. At 17 pounds, my arms are tired cause I pretty much almost died. What they were looking at was a devious plan to get the mayor reelected and make money for the man.
Get the kids sick with chemicals that are banned.
Get the mayor reelected and make money for the man. Hold the company responsible for marketing the brand. Get the mayor reelected and make money for the man. Blackmail the judge to go easy on the man. Get the mayor reelected and make money for the man. And give the company relief through a new tax plan. Get the mayor reelected and make money for the man. Get the kids sick with chemicals that are banned. Get the mayor reelected and make money for the man. Get the kids sick with chemicals that are banned. Get the mayor reelected and make money for the man. The bad sport daddy's boys took to the streets out looking for some information, trying to figure out why two of their guys required dental identification. They cornered a hobo that lived behind the pet store across from the murder scene and told the guy to start coughing up what he saw if he valued what was left of his teeth. To appropriate fingers and showed him off to two of the boys. Here's one for you and another for you, and now I'm all out of fuck off toys. Now the hobo learned a lot from Super Stunt Steve about getting her off of the ground. But when they start pulling out those basketballs, you figure best to just stay down. He finally broke down and told the daddy's boys about the steely-eyed man in black. And now he took the two girls up into the apartment where that heavy metal wizard loving devil was at. The daddy's boys all started patting their plastic bats and getting ready to throw. And the hobo stumbled into Kid Kevin's arcade and told him he should come watch the show. Red light started streaming out of apartment number 666 as Kevin came out with some lawn chairs, 2 joints, Mr. Pibb, and some beef sticks. Kevin came out with his lawn chairs, 2 joints, Mr. Pibb, and some beef sticks. Kevin came out with his lawn chairs, 2 joints, Mr. Pibb, and some beef sticks. Red light started streaming out of apartment number 666. Kevin came out with his lawn chairs, 2 joints, Mr. Pibb, and some beef sticks. Red light started streaming out of apartment number 666. Kevin came out with his lawn chairs, 2 joints, Mr. Pibb, and some beefsteaks. Jim got settled in to his new living situation in an apartment right above the bar. And good for him, there's way worse accommodations, like the van that he was living in. He had a super cool roommate with the robot arm, who worked as a bouncer down at the bar. As we agreed, you could stay here rent-free, as long as you keep my arm working and clean. Super cool Bruce said, get a load of this, something's going on in store 666. Super cool Bruce said, get a load of this, something's going on in apartment 666. A red light started screaming out of apartment number 666. 2 doors down from the guy with the arm and his brand new roommate Jim. Kevin and the hobo watched from below, stirring up a total disbelief, as chunks of basketball and body parts started raining down all over the street. If you think that you got some basketballs on ya, a wizard loving devil's got something for ya. If you think you got some basketballs on ya, a wizard loving devil's got something for ya. If you think that you got some basketballs on ya, a wizard loving devil's got something for ya.
The stewards looked into a world of dreams as the hibernation chemicals coursed through his veins. Visions of paradise on the shores of an untouched alien world, surrounded by penetrating light and 17 similar looking girls. Time slowed down for the steward as the ship drifted deeper into outer space, while the robot girl in overalls did her best to take his place. the
women were accounted for, but none of the men survived. All of the women were accounted for, but none of the men survived. All of the women were accounted for, but none of the men survived.
The red-headed girl from the science team came to the steward's side, handed him a shovel and helped him get to digging up graves for all the dead, calling his skies. All the other women got to chip in, taking inventory of what was left of the ship, setting up defensive perimeter towers in spite of significantly decreased manpower. All of the women unanimously decided that the steward should become their leader now, mainly because they needed to try to keep him safe, seeing how he was the last man they had around. 17 days straight, the steward woke up late, getting used to air that wasn't pre-mixed, figuring out how to talk to the girls and getting good at making drinks with little plastic sticks. 17 days straight, the steward woke up late, getting used to air that wasn't pre-mixed, figuring out which girl liked what and getting good at all these cute little bartender tricks. All of these women, they would start to get drunk and go on about repopulation. Sometimes it came down to fights at the bar, trying to vie for the steward's attention. All of these women, they would start to get drunk and go on about repopulation. Sometimes it came down to fights at the bar, trying to vie for the steward's attention. All of the women started getting drunk and going
this rubber spatula and a copy of the rules. Everyone else has got the job descriptions in these packets. And you all get kitchen utensils in these team jackets. Success demands that we all pull together in a finely tuned machine that will completely break down and then when any of you wanna act like you're 17. When I'm done with my lunch, I'm gonna walk you Irish Alexander loaded his shotgun out of a box that said for giant rats. Just in case you don't have cats, shotgun shells for giant rats. Shotgun shells for giant rats. Satisfaction or your money back. Lisp and Liz dropped into a stance, getting ready for the big dance. Lisp and Liz dropped into a stance, getting ready for the big dance. Bad church daddy was the first to die by a samurai sword thrust through the eye. Bad pageant money was the next to go by a well-placed, high-powered crossbow bolt. A little princess started eating her mom, so the focus then shifted to the next one on. A little princess started eating her mama. A little princess started eating her mama. A little princess started eating her mama. Zack attacking Tom, Tom, both beat up out of the devil's apartment. Both of them struggling at the same time to put together a coherent sentence. They go and moved into the car and started wiping up chunks of meat. Was all that was left of the rest of the team, except for what was back there in the street. Tom said, Zach, when we get back in front of the boss, you're gonna have to stand up. So first we'll stomp off at the hospital to get that BB gun out of your butt. So bad sport daddy was a badass boss that you never ever wanted to cross. Once a kid failed to get his laundry done right and ended up fertilizing the corn stalks. So when Zack attacking Tom, Tom told him what had happened in apartment 666. They knew that they'd be lucky if they got to walk away with their lives and their little dicks. Their little dicks. Their little dicks. Their lives and their little dicks. They knew that they'd be lucky if they got to walk away with their lives and their little dicks. Zack attacking Tom, Tom approached Boss Daddy with their dicks tucked between their legs. Tom swallowed a lump in his throat and said, Boss, he came back with a message. We were able to discover the location of the one called the Steely-Eyed Man in Black. Turns out he was working for the wizard loving devil. That's who carved this note in my back. Bad sport daddy, I hope you're doing well. Please accept my apology. I'm really bad at spelling. Things are good with me. I've been keeping pretty busy with some watercolor art and some writing projects. What have you been up to the last time we talked? You were really excited about your fantasy sports stuff. How was the little missus with the yoga classes? That girl was so flexible and full of energy. I'm sure your boys Michael and Jordan are hit big. I should really come around more to see those kids. How's your mom's health? I hope that it's improved. She's such a sweet lady. Your mama. Thanks for the millions that I've already got some. You should find the time to come over and meet 'em. Thanks for the millions that I've already got some. You should find the time to come over and meet 'em. Thanks for the millions that I've already got some. You should find the time to come over and meet 'em.
Thank
bullshit. Danny started drooling all over himself and peed a little in his pants. Shaking like a kid, shoved a metal fork in an electrical power outlet. Shaking like a kid, stuck a metal fork in an electrical socket. Shaking like a kid, shaking like a kid, shaking like a kid. Stuck a metal fork in an electrical socket. Shaking like a kid, shaking like a kid. Shove a metal fork in an electrical power outlet. Shaking like a kid, shaking like a kid. Shove a metal fork in an electrical power outlet. Shaking like a kid, shaking like a kid, shaking like a kid. Stuck a metal fork in an electrical socket. Kim pulled out her epinephrine pen and hit the thing a couple of times. Wiped a single tear away from her eye and started trying to regulate her breathing. The lawnmower man said, take two of these and try your best to get some sleep in. Me and my brother will consider our options and have a plan ready by morning. Kim passed out in the fetal position and the two brothers got to working, connecting data points on the giant whiteboard that Jim used to use all the time. The lawnmower man said, Chris, look at this composition of the chemical compound. Doesn't it look kinda similar to the one that you were using on those Michigan cows? Oh my God, Bill, it's not similar, man. It's exactly Agent 1717. And lawnmower man said, that's what you get when you start getting into doing science for the army. You should have gotten out like I did back when the fuckers started weaponizing my robotic technology. Okay, Bill, well, when you got a wife with expensive tastes like mine had, and she won't get a job not to save her life and keeps threatening to leave you for another man. Well, okay, Bill, but when you got a wife with expensive tastes like mine had, a job flipping burgers or delivering pizza doesn't really fucking pay the bills, man. Okay, Chris, that's about enough about your ex-wife, Yeah, okay, Chris, you can shut up about your wife and get your head on station. Okay, Chris, that's about enough about your ex-wife, Okay, Chris, you can shut up about your wife and get your head on station. According to this, there are chemicals being stored in the military installation. I'm pretty sure I can get us inside through the base's air ventilation. Well, okay, Bill, but when you got a wife with expensive tastes like my head, okay, Chris, you can shut up about your wife and get your head on station. A job flipping burgers or delivering pizza doesn't really fucking pay the bills, man. Okay, Chris, you can shut up about your wife and get your head on station. was right there, but I couldn't get to her. If only there had been about 17 viewers. She was right there, but I couldn't get to her. If only there had been about 17 viewers. She was right there, but I couldn't get to her. She was right there, but I couldn't get to her. If only there had been about 17 viewers. If only there had been about 17 viewers. 17 weeks